Right, this is a video presentation on multiplying rational expressions by Mathematically Marcia. Okay, multiplying mathematical expressions is much like simplifying them. We can reduce any term on the top with any term on the bottom. If you have groups, just like with simplifying, it has to be the whole group. Now in this example, we don't have any groups, they're all monomials. So we can reduce the 2 with the 4, can both be divided by 2, which makes that a 1 and that a 2. X squared and x4, we can take 2 away, leaving 2 on the bottom and none on the top. And then we can also say 5 and 10 divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And we can cross off these 2's, making them both 1's. After I've canceled everything, all I have left on top, or in my numerator, is a 1 times 1, which is 1. And then in the denominator, I have a 1 times x squared, which is x squared. Now we need to do our excluded values. X to the 4th cannot equal 0, and the 4th root of 0 is still 0. So x cannot equal 0. Okay, in this example, look at our numbers and our letters, see what we can cross off. On top, we have a 4, and on bottom we have a 10, which can both be divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then we have a 3 on bottom and 9 on top, which can both be divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now we have an x and an x cubed on bottom, so we can take one x away. That leaves me with an x squared in the denominator. And then y, we can take 1 away, leaving me with y squared in the denominator. But I have a 1 squared in the numerator in this fraction, so we can cross those off as well. Now that I've canceled everything that we can, multiply your numerators. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply your denominators. 1 times 5x squared is 5x squared. Now we need to look at the original fractions to find our excluded values. The fraction on the left didn't have any variables, so it doesn't have any. The one on the right, we have an x cubed, cannot equal 0, and a y cubed cannot equal 0. And the cubed root of 0 is still 0. So 6 over 5x squared, x cannot equal 0, and y cannot equal 0. Now in this one, remember fraction bars act like grouping symbols also. So this is a group, this is a group. Remember, you cannot split groups up. We can, however, reduce the 5 and the 10. They can both be divided by 5, which makes that a 1 and that a 2. So on top we have 1 times x plus 2, which is just x plus 2. And on the bottom we have 2 times x minus 4. And no, you cannot cross the 2's off. Now, you may be able to just leave it like it is, or you can go ahead and distribute on the bottom. And that may be a preference by your teacher, but either answer is correct. Now, we do need to go back to the beginning and see this variable here that we had in the denominator. X minus 4 cannot equal 0. So we add 4, which means x cannot equal 4 is my excluded value. All right, we have a lot of factoring we need to do here. X squared minus 2x minus 8. Let's start with that one. So let's just talk through this. A times c is negative 8, which means our signs are different, and the larger one's going to be negative. So 1 times negative 8 doesn't work. 2 times negative 4 does work. So x plus 2 and x minus 4. Now let's do the denominator in this fraction. A times c is negative 12. Signs are different again. Larger number is negative again. So 1 times negative 12 does not work. 2 times negative 6 does. That gives me negative 4. So x plus 2 and x minus 6. Now let's come over here to this numerator. A times c is negative 18. So 1 times negative 18 does not work. 2 times negative 9 does not work. 3 times negative 6, that works. So x plus 3 and then x minus 6. And then let's look at this denominator. Now a times c is negative 24. So the signs are still different. Larger number still negative. 1 times negative 24 does not work. 2 times negative 12 does not work. 3 times negative 8 gives me negative 5 when I add them, so that works. So x plus 3 and x minus 8. Now we want to look for groups that match. Here we have an x plus 2 and an x plus 2, so we can take those off. We have an x minus 6 and an x minus 6, so we can take those off. We have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3, so we can take those off. So we are left with x minus 4 over x minus 8. Now we need to find our excluded values. Remember, we need to look at the denominators before we cross things out. So we have quite a few. X plus 2 cannot equal 0. X minus 6 cannot equal 0. X plus 3 cannot equal 0. X minus 8 cannot equal 0. So subtract 2. X cannot equal negative 2. Add 6. X cannot equal 6. Subtract 3. X cannot equal negative 3. And add 8. X cannot equal 8. So x cannot equal negative 3, negative 2, 6, and 8. I like to list them in numerical order to have it organized. So x minus 4 over x minus 8, and then x cannot equal negative 3, negative 2, 6, and 8. All right, let's factor each part here. We'll start with this first numerator. A times c is negative 18. Signs are different. Larger number is positive because b is positive. So negative 1 times 18, and that works. It gives me 17. And don't forget, it's 3x squared. So we have 3x minus 1 and 3x plus 18. And then this one can be reduced by 3. So 3x minus 1 and x plus 6. Okay, now let's factor the denominator below it. Now a times c would be 60. Everything's positive, so everything over here is positive. Get 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 10, 4 times 15, 5 times 12. There it is. That works. 5 times 12, or 5 plus 12 is 17. So 2x, don't forget the 2 plus 5, and 2x plus 12. This one can be reduced by 2. So 2x plus 5 and x plus 6. Okay, now let's factor our second fraction. We'll start with the numerator again. Now 2 times negative 20 is negative 40. Signs are different. Larger is negative because b is negative. So you have 1 times negative 40 does not work. 2 times negative 20 does not work. 4 times negative 10 does not work. 5 times negative 8, that works. And don't forget the 2 in front of x. So 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 8, but these can be divided by 2. So we have 2x plus 5 and x minus 4. Alright, now let's factor this denominator. So 3 times 4 is 12. It's positive, which means the signs are the same, and b is negative, so they're all negative. So negative 1 times negative 12, and that works. Don't forget the 3 in front of the x. So 3x minus 1, 3x minus 12. These can both be divided by 3. So 3x minus 1, x minus 4. Alright, let's put that in our fraction. 3x minus 1, x minus 4. Okay, now that we've got everything factored, let's look for our groups that are the same. Remember, we cannot split groups up, but we can take the whole group away if it matches. Well, we have 3x minus 1 here and here. One's on top, one's on bottom. So those can be crossed off. We have x plus 6 can be crossed off. 2x plus 5 can be crossed off. And x minus 4 can be crossed off. Since we crossed everything out, remember when you divide something by itself, the answer is actually 1. We do still need to go back and do our excluded values though. And we need to include all the variables before they get crossed off. So every term that has a variable has to be considered. Alright, so we have 2x plus 5 cannot equal 0. X plus 6 cannot equal 0. 3x minus 1 cannot equal 0. And x minus 4 cannot equal 0. So subtract 5. 2x cannot equal 5. And divide by 2. So x cannot equal 5 halves. Subtract 6. X cannot equal negative 6. Add 1. 3x cannot equal 1. Divide by 3. So we have 1/3. and add 4. So x cannot equal 4. So if we were to put these in order, still have our 1 there, and then x cannot equal -6, 1/3, 5/2, or 4. Okay, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button below. I look forward to seeing your questions and comments and requests for future videos below. Also, if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.